Well, now they're extending this to make it 2 years for any type of claim. So now you have to file a claim within 2 years. No matter what. We don't magically litigate cases, right? Courts will dismiss bad cases in 2 seconds. Are you kidding me? We have a legal standard, a breach of contract. We have to prove that they breached the contract, right?
Absolutely.
If we can't prove that, the case gets dismissed.
Sometimes I am a little bit old. We all eventually become a little bit old school in our ways because we stick with what works. But when we find out some of the new things that are going on, it's really cool. And what I've noticed with bringing public adjusters together is that we share all that knowledge, and it only makes us stronger because there's no reason for us to be competing against each other. As you know, there is plenty of business out there. There are plenty of claims out there across Florida, across the country, and there's no reason why we should be fighting one another, because at the end of the day, it's really not us against us. Frankly, it's us against them.
It's the carrier's burden to prove the exclusion at trial, not the other way around. So in fact, you don't even have to put an expert up at trial. You don't have to call an engineer. You don't have to call, I like to, I want to, but you don't have to. You just have to get up and say, you know what? My property got damaged during this policy period. It's covered. Now they have to prove that it's excluded.
It's so mafia when, I don't like to usually mention, but fuck it, we've been mentioning insurance companies. It's so mafia when Citizen says, here's what we're gonna do. You have a $50,000 loss. You can choose our people and we'll honor the $50,000 worth of damage. But if you don't use our people, we're gonna strong arm you and only pay you 10. How does that get passed?
So it actually proves that the damage on the date of loss alleged is what they're claiming, right? There's no wear and tear to a roof. A roof only sits on your roof, man. It either functions or it doesn't function. And what's the reason for it? Okay, if you're saying it's old, that's why it's not functioning, just say that. Is old excluded under the policy? No.
What's up, advocates? And welcome back to another episode of the Claims Game Podcast. Before we start, got to tell you that we are sponsored by Fortes Health. If you want any of your PPE needs, make sure you go to Fortes Health. Get your mask, get your gloves, get whatever it is. It seems to me now, as people are, I guess, sort of getting away from the COVID thing, this is actually a good sponsor for mold people who do mold tests, mold remediators, so on and so forth. But if you go on the website if you go onto the website of Fortes Health, if you put in Vince20, you will get 20% off of any of your purchases. So give it a shot. Man, I'm excited because I literally just finished the interview, and I know I say this all the time, but legitimately one of the best interviews I've done because Ali Kadir has got the passion like I had never seen. I mean, this guy has got so much passion about what he does. He is an attorney. He works at Kuhn and Raslavich. They are located in Tampa, Florida, Orlando, and I'm not sure where else. You can go on their website is thekrfirm.com. But that being said, you could catch Ali on, he's very, very prevalent on LinkedIn. Ali Kadir, ALIKADIR. He's also on Facebook. But let me tell you guys, this was the interview of a century. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, we talked about so much. Just to give you an idea, we talked about some dangerous bills that they're trying to pass, and they are just like, I mean, it just kills the attorney industry, and it just kills a lot of rights that policyholders have. We talk about Senate Bill 76, House Bill 305, Senate Bill 212, and he breaks it down. He breaks it down into details. The other thing we talk about is all the statutes and laws. He tells you how we could file a CRN. He goes over CRNs that he files pretty much on a daily basis, and we go over all of the statutes that he puts in the CRN to help you public adjusters file that stuff. No matter where you live either, you've got statutes, you've got Unfair Claims Practices Acts, most states, and you could notify the state, you could notify and file bad faith claims in most states, and you could go to some of these statutes. They may differ in your state, but they're going to be similar, and you can notate these statutes because the insurance company does it on every single claim. They take too long to pay. They underpay. They misrepresent the facts. They do it all the time. We break it down. We go into complete details about it. And then, like I said, the bills that we've got in Florida that are kind of BS, but Fact of the matter is, we really talk about the racket that these insurance companies have. I think you guys have known for a while, I don't really bash insurance companies. I really don't. It's not what I do. But at the same time, it's very difficult because of what we have to deal with on a daily basis. Ali gets into it. And when I say he gets into it, he swore in the beginning he would not curse, but he went after it. And he got his face in the camera. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, on iTunes or on Spotify, I'm sorry you won't see it. But I mean, he gets in the face of the camera. So stay tuned. You're going to love it. It's an amazing interview. You got to watch it. So I hope you enjoy the man, the myth, the legend, Ali Kadir.
Welcome to the Claims Game Podcast with Vince Perri. Get all the tips you need from insurance claim advocates and professionals and grow your public adjusting career to the next level. And now the commercial claims advocate, Vince Perri.
Woo! We are here, back at it again. Another Claims Game podcast with my new BFF, Ali Kadir. What's up, Ali?
What's up, Vince?
How you doing, man?
Good, man. It's like I see you every day now.
I told you, that's why I said BFF. We're like BFFs now.
I know.
We're talking on the phone all the time now, but honestly, it's because you're helping me. You're teaching me stuff that, frankly, I didn't really didn't think about before. So I appreciate you doing that. That a lot of other attorneys out there like to keep some of these secrets, but at the same time, I think what you're doing is you're just helping our industry. You said something the other day that was really interesting about every claim should not go to litigation. Litigation should be last resort. When all else fails, that's when you litigate. That's when we file a lawsuit. But, for little things like, not little things, but things like CRNs or just any little thing that happens throughout the claim doesn't mean you have to kick it to litigation right away.
Yeah, I feel that way. I feel like in general, lawsuits are really a last resort tool when you can no longer, try any other method. No other method works, right? So, like you have so many tools at your disposal. One is a bad faith complaint, and a lot of people don't know about them, and they have a strong impact on claims if you know how to draft them, and because it requires the insurance company to respond, and their exposure gets increased significantly. They get bad faith exposure. So stuff like that helps. A lot of attorneys, you're right, don't like to tell people, or there's a little bit of a dispute of whether non-attorneys can file them. In my opinion, if you look at the website, it allows anybody to file them. The complainant, third parties, other, it even says. I think it's broad. And with all due respect, it's at the CRN is from the insured, not from me. We represent the policyholder, the homeowner, right? So at the end of the day, it's not my bad faith complaint. It's the policyholders, the homeowner. So as long as we understand that, they're a wonderful tool.
Right. Well, I like how you also say, Vince, you can make a lot more money by doing this. And the reason is, and you also mentioned, well, in the meetup that we had, which we have to get into, by the way, but in the meetup we had in Orlando, you did a very smart thing by bringing one of, a public adjuster that you brought him up to speak on behalf, and that was not planned. I know that for sure. You would have told me. He just came up there and he started talking about how beneficial it's been for him, not necessarily for you, for him.
Yeah. And that's the way I look at it. I look at it like, the attorney and the public adjuster are a team. I'm the Monday morning quarterback, and you guys are, playing the Sunday football game in the trenches, dealing with the insurance company who doesn't want to pay a dime. And when you can no longer, handle the situation, I don't want to say handle, but when you've run every recourse possible and they force you to, you send it over to counsel. And that's how I am with my public adjusters that I work with. The gentleman that spoke that day is Chris Fopiani. I've been working with him for years now, and he trusts me. And I've taught him how to use CRNs or help him draft them. Obviously they're the insured CRNs at the end of the day, the policyholders, the homeowners. But I've shown him how you can draft them in a manner in which, they apply to every insurance claim. They are, the conduct, the way these insurance companies handle insurance claims right from the get-go, from the biased field adjuster who they pay to, deny or underpay your claim, who does a really, in my opinion, a piss poor inspection. You take these guys' depositions. I mean, it's like, wow, it's like a traffic accident every single time, and all this stuff comes out, and that's where the CRN is based out of. My experiences, and they hire these bias field adjusters, they hire these bias engineers, who are, in my opinion, just all hired guns just to deny the claim. And in my opinion, put the insurance company's interests above the homeowners, the policyholders, which actually runs contrary to what the bad faith statutes say, right? The bad faith statutes say that you must put the insured or the homeowner's interest above your own. That's not what's going on here. Not
at all. Put your phone on silent, Ali.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I could hear it vibrating.
It's vibrating.
I love when you talk about this, but you're not bringing the passion that you usually bring when you talk to me on the phone. I want you to bring it, okay?
You want me to
bring the passion, baby? No. I mean, whatever. I know it comes natural anyway, but yeah. So it's ridiculous. We talk about it all the time. You're always telling me how, and it's true. Like these bad faith. What do we call it? Bad faith claims, CRNs, whatever that we fill out. These bad faith notices or whatever. There's like these lists of statutes that you could put, and it's really incredible because you could almost use them for every single claim. Like you could use almost the exact same statute for every single claim because they slip up on every single claim.
Literally, they have a method, right? The way they go about doing these or handling these claims, and they think, and I don't mean to, it's not a personal thing, but they're really doing this to protect their business interests. The insurance company is a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollars, something like $800 billion in excess profits in 2019. That is insane, okay? And so, most people think that when they're hiring their insurance company, like State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, right? That they're looking out for their interests.
Shelley's she shed.
Yeah, but they're not, right? Because they're going out there to deny your claim or lowball your claim, and they think you're not going to do anything about it. And really, they look at these statistics. It's something like less than 10% of claimants, homeowners who submit claims, actually file suit. So, this litigation crisis, the fake litigation crisis the insurance companies creating is not real, and it's just really to raise rates and to make more money.
And I think like what is it, like less than half of claims even go disputed? It's like more than half of claims, they accept the initial offer or they accept the initial payment that comes in from the insurance company. And then that's it. They're done. They don't realize what they're doing. And I mean, that's the, I hate to use the word game, even though it is the insurance claims game, because it's not a game. I mean, I think it's a serious issue, but it's not in their best interest. The way I sort of sell my services to people is, look, I'm representing you. It's in my best interest to get you as much money as possible. It's in my best interest to get you paid as fast as possible, because since I work strictly contingency, obviously I'm trying to get paid. The sooner you get paid, the sooner I get paid. The insurance company is the complete opposite, and it's just by design. I don't even blame them. It's just by design, where if more than half of claims go undisputed, what's the intention for them to actually make a full payment on a claim if more than half go undisputed? And if every month or every 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is that you make the deal with your insurance company, you're paying a premium. I know for a fact that at the end of every year they get audited and they have to look at this ratio: premium income, claim payments, premium income, claim payments, and they have to keep it at a certain point. If not, obviously, for one, high expenses, they can go under. But it just goes to show that all it is, it's a business at the end of the day, and it's an expense that they have to be careful for. So they're going to try to find ways to underpay, to deny, to delay, to defend, the triple D that we always talk about. And that's what I just try to tell that's what I try to tell clients that I'm signing up. It's just logical that it's in their best interest to deny it or to delay it or to underpay it.
And that's the way they conduct their business, right? That's their business model. And that's part of the basis for the CRN, is to really point out this business model. They are not complying with Florida Statute 624.1 155, which is the bad faith statute, right? They're violating it in multiple ways. And then on top of that, there's Florida statute 626.9541 that also they constantly violate on a regular basis. And I cite to these regularly in my CRNs because to me, this is a regular business practice. This is how the insurance company conducts their business. It's rare that they don't. And we can go through, some of the statutes that I cite, and I can show you how virtually every claim they're doing this.
I've got a claim now where they actually made the undisputed payment rather fast. There is no appraisal. I'd like to file a CRN. What would you suggest is the statutes that I bring up in the CRN? If it's they weren't late, they didn't wait more than 14 days. It's literally just not sufficient enough to what
they underpaid you. They lowballed you.
Right.
And that's and you're entitled to file a CRN for that. There's if I can read the statutes.
What are the numbers? I have to tell Tammy. That's why.
624.155 1B1, not attempting in good faith to settle claims when under all the circumstances it could and should have done so had it acted fairly and honestly toward its insured and with due regard for her or his interests. By lowballing you, they're violating that. Simple as that. We can read these statutes without boring people, and I could literally point out in almost every claim how they're doing this.
Can you share? Are you have it on your screen?
Yeah.
You want to share it real quick? A lot of people watch on YouTube, but you definitely, because of the people that listen to it, they have to be able to hear. So yes, you will have to. I want you to name the statute, and I want you to read the statute.
Let me share.
Like I said, I know, and I allow you to share. And I know that like we were just talking about, and we actually went over this not too long ago, is that every single claim pretty much is going to have a laundry list of statutes that you could go to, and you could call them out on a lot of things they did. So for example, in Florida, they have 14 days to respond to any communication. In Texas, it's 15. In California, it's 15. Hey, did you know, Ali, in California, it's 40 or 45 days to come up with a coverage decision?
Oh,
no,
wow, that's
wait, no, that's not what it was. That's because I'm licensed in Florida and I'm hiring adjusters in Florida. And I wanted to look at some of the Unfair Claims Practices Act. First of all, they don't call it unfair. They call it Insurance Practices Act, something like that. And I think it's 21 days to come up with a coverage decision unless they have a significant good reason to go to extend it after that, which it's 45 days. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's the fire state, right? I mean,
that's the fire state. So I can't wait because I've got one, maybe two adjusters lined up who's going to be working for us. And I want to get all these together because, I mean, one thing is for sure, right? The civil remedy notice, that's nationwide. Bad faith claims is nationwide, correct? Or am I wrong about that?
Well, I only practice in Florida, so I could tell you what we can, do in Florida. I'm sure there's some form of a bad faith complaint in every state.
Okay, so read to me the ones that I could use for my claim right now, where it was quick. It was undisputed payment came within, honestly, about 3 weeks, but it's not close to what we need. So what are the ones you think I should cite for just a typical underpayment?
You got it. So the reasons for the notice, claim denial, claim delay, unsatisfactory settlement offer, unfair trade practice. I also put misrepresentation. I add that myself. That's the drop-down box.
But should I use denial if it's not a denial? It's a delay.
Well, they're denying full payment of your claim.
Ah, I got you.
So it's always a denial, in my opinion. If they're not paying you how much you're seeking, it's a denial. Whether it's a full denial or a partial denial, that's the whole thing. But if they're not paying you, the amount of money you're requesting, I consider that a denial.
And misrepresentation, I mean, that to me is probably that's literally 100%. I mean, every time they balk at every freaking thing that I throw at them, it's like, come on, people.
Hey, I try to apply these ambiguous policy exclusions and to try to deny your claim or not cover certain things on your claim. And these provisions are just, I mean, they're like wear and tear, marring, deterioration. They use that exclusion almost literally every time. Faulty maintenance, faulty installation. All these pointing to these damages occurring prior to the inception of the policy. Well, first of all, why are you insuring the home if these damages existed before then, right? So that makes no sense, right? So, but yet you're trying to exclude it and claim that these damages existed prior to the date of loss. So if they existed prior to the date of loss, like you're claiming, and they're not related to what they're alleging, then you should be able to prove it, right? They have an underwriting file, don't they? Every year they're supposed to do underwriting file, right? They're supposed to inspect the property. And their underwriting file, the contents of it, should have inspection reports, photographs, should show whether those damages are there or not, right? But how many field adjusters or quote-unquote independent adjusters actually look at the underwriting file before inspecting a home? They don't.
Is when you eat them up.
Essentially refuse to look at it. And when you try to get it through discovery in the lawsuit, they fight tooth and nail to not let you have it. Why? Because it proves your case. It defeats their defense that these damages are long-term. And so, like, for example, there's a wind mitigation report in almost every citizen's property insurance underwriting file that will show you the condition of the roof prior to the date of loss.
And it was fine. You insured it because it was fine.
Exactly. So it actually proves that the damage on the date of loss alleged is what they're claiming, right? But, citizens will fight tooth and nail to not give you the underwriting file and the inspection report.
How much do you love eating these guys up in deposition on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, 10. 10. It harks me back to my prosecution days, I love going to trial. As a prosecutor, I think close to 50 trials. I was a felony prosecutor. So I like being in the trenches. I like fighting. I like going after people when I think they're lying and, asking them tough questions.
Well, you mentioned, because you have kids, you mentioned that when you were doing the prosecution, you used to just love to go after any of like the kid-related crimes and stuff.
Yeah, the child abusers, the child molesters, the sex offenders that abuse little children. Those were the ones that I like to go after the most. I mean, just no sympathy whatsoever, right?
Right.
I don't, without bringing up bad memories, too many bad memories. That's the kind of stuff that drives you, right? You see this really bad guy in front of you that's molested this little baby, and you're like, no way. And you go after them like a bulldog, I mean, politely, you don't get angry. You don't use anger. Anger gets you nowhere, but you use all your skills as a prosecutor to really, convict this guy.
So let me before, because I want to go back to us full screen. Let me read real quick about. I'm not going to read the actual statute numbers because there are a lot of people that listen who are not in Florida. So just to name a few guys in your state, chances are, and I'm licensed in 3 states. There's Unfair Claim Practices Act in all 3 states that I work in. So I would definitely recommend that you go on whatever Department Financial Services website or just Google Unfair Claim Practices Act and whatever your state is, and chances are it'll come up. But here, I'll try to just run through them a little bit. One of them is not attempting in good faith to settle claims. Another one is making claim payments to insureds not accompanied by a statement setting forth the coverage. Another one is except as to a liability coverage, failing to promptly settle claims. Again, promptly. Failing to adopt and implement standards for the proper investigation of claims. That's a big one, guys. I mean, they never do what they're supposed to do to come up properly with their coverage decisions. They don't investigate properly. Misrepresenting pertinent facts or insurance policy provisions relating to coverage. So when we send emails and letters with expert documentation and we cite policy and they still tell us that it's not true, that's misrepresenting. Failing to acknowledge and act promptly upon communication with respect to claims. Denying claims without conducting reasonable investigations. Failing to affirm or deny or partial coverage of claims. Failing to promptly provide a reasonable explanation in writing. Failing to promptly notify the insured of any additional information necessary for the processing of a claim, failing to clearly explain the nature of the requested information and the reasons why such information is necessary, and then unfair claim settlement practices. I mean, this is just, you could get out of the full screen there. But this is, everything that we just listed is just super duper common in every single claim. I mean, it happens pretty much all the time.
It's the norm, right? It's really how they conduct business.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You mentioned drive. You mentioned what drives you. We were talking about kids, right? Kids, family. And I don't know why. I wrote drives, and I remember you were talking about your kid.
Yeah.
That's what drives you, right? I mean,
to me, I have 3 children, 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And
wow.
if it wasn't for that, I probably would be surfing.
Right.
In California or something, man. I don't know. Just I wouldn't be putting myself through this. But, at the same time, I enjoy this. I mean, I was built for this. Like, it's funny. Like, it's weird. I went through my whole life, you go to school. My parents tried to turn me into a doctor. Okay. I'm Pakistani background, Indian Pakistani background. And, everyone, they always try to make it an engineer, doctor, whatever. So when I became a lawyer, they were like, what is this lawyer? What is this nonsense lawyer? And I'm like, yeah, because, I was always good at verbal stuff, public speaking. I'm good with people. I was never really great at science. Although I got good grades, I never loved it. And I wasn't the greatest at I was good at physics, but, I didn't love it like what I did with public speaking and engaging with people. And for me, I couldn't do it. So I dropped out of pre-med, like you could say the first semester of undergrad. And I'm thinking, what do I do? And I'm like, why not explore? And I just started thinking about, I'm like, you know what, why not law school? Why not be a lawyer? And you like to argue, and, it's to your strength, right? It works to your strength. So that's what drove me into that. And after going through the tough law school and the long hours, it's really your family that pushes you over the edge, right? And keeps you going. So
that's what I was talking about at the meetup on Orlando. When I spoke to everybody, that's what all of this is all about. I talk about it with my team every single week. I talk about it with both my team of assistants and my team of adjusters now. We've got how many we got now? We got 5 of us. And it's, I've got a guy in Pensacola. I've got a guy in California. I've got 2 guys in Miami. And we might have another guy in California. So I need to make sure that I want everybody to understand that this is our purpose. Our purpose is people. And we start with the people that we love, and we start with the people that are around us, the people that we care about. It starts with us as a team to making sure that we have each other's back, that we're working for each other. So if I need something from Paul in Pensacola, I know that I can call him. He's going to have my back to make sure he does it. California, so on and so forth, because I've already told them they're my number one priority. I've got a lot of adjusters that follow me on Commercial Claims Advocate and everything, but at the end of the day, my guys are my guys. And that's where it starts, us. And then from there, it extends to our family. That's why we do it, right? We're signing these claims. We're fighting these claims so that obviously we can make a good living so that we could support our family. And then the third part of that is, again, why we do it, which is support us, support our families, and support the policyholder. It's all about people at the end of the day. And that's why I thought it was really cool. And I mentioned that at the meetup. I wanted everybody to understand that that's what this is all about. When you have a greater purpose, it's just so much easier to be successful.
I agree, definitely. And the insurance companies, their purpose is not that. It's the opposite, right? They are the bad guy. And funny, they try to portray it the other way around, right? But we'll get to that in a moment with this legislation and all the skyrocketing of rates in Florida.
So let's talk about that, because I was talking to you on the phone. We were going over CRNs, and I'm like, dude, you told me anything you need, I'll be here. And I'm just like, dude, I've got no content for this week. I said, you got 2 hours? You want to come on a podcast? And you're like, absolutely. And you specifically mentioned these things. Last week, I had on Matt Mulholland and Doug Quinn. Matt Mulholland is a public adjuster in Georgia. He's part of GAPIA. And Doug Quinn is the president, or he's one of the big guys in the American APA, American Policyholders Association. Both, they fight for policyholders to make sure laws like this don't pass. So what's the deal? What's going on? Well, in that podcast, basically, we spoke about that. It was a big event that he was able to, dude, in Georgia, they have no appraisal. In Georgia, they have no time limits. In Georgia, they have no homeowner bill of rights. In Georgia, they don't have shit. So what is the deal? And I wouldn't be surprised if every other state tries to piggyback off how they have it with Georgia, so that, they don't have to pay claims. So what's the deal? What's going on?
I hope not. If we turn into Georgia, my God, we would be in big trouble. Florida has over 30 million people, right? As a state. And, we're one of the biggest storm states, if not the biggest in the country. We're a peninsula. We're almost like an island that juts out into the, to the Gulf and the Caribbean. We're like no other state in the United States.
Ain't that the truth?
It's true, man. We're exposed to more storms than anywhere. And historically, that's a fact. And that's why the laws in this state were passed to protect the homeowner and policyholder. And it's been like that, right? Since Hurricane Andrew that rocked South Florida, right? Destroyed South Florida. Public adjusters, the attorney fee statute has protected the policyholders for so long. Now, all these things are being chipped away at, particularly recently, within the last couple of years. My opinion, we have two ways to look at the AOB statute that came out. People say, well, it regulated AOB companies. Well, at the same time, it also allowed insurance companies to pay their own vendors lower amounts and do poorer jobs in handling claims. Whereas now a third party who has no interest to work for the insurance company, who's actually trying to mitigate and restore the property, now can't do it because the insurance company now won't pay them the money, or under the statute limits the amount that they can pay them. And they have all these requirements, silly requirements under the statute that make it impossible to do business now in Florida. So now you have insurance companies hiring their own vendors, which People's Trust does all the time, right? And they're the biggest ones out of all of them. And they do the worst job in the world in drying out these properties.
The tryouts, they're so bad.
Oh, they're so bad. And they have like these contracts with them where they're paying them like, nothing for this.
Peanuts.
Yes. And so that AOB statute let them get away with that, in my opinion. And now it gives the insurance company more power. It takes away more power away from the policyholder or the homeowner, and the insurance company can make more money at the expense of the homeowner. The new legislation is no different. And I actually have them right here. It's Senate Bill 76. Okay. Another one is, House Bill 305. Okay. Both of those are destructive. And then there's another one, Senate Bill 212. All three of these are really on the slate for DeSantis to sign this year. And they destroy. They're not just chip away at homeowners' policy rights. In my opinion, they destroy policy rights.
What's Senate Bill 76?
Yeah, let's go through each one, right? And the funny thing is like, who allowed this stuff to happen? Let's jump into this. Who allowed it to happen? We did. We voted in friendly, insurance-friendly representatives and legislatures that don't give a rat's ass about me or you. All they care about is, am I going to get reelected? Who's paying my reelection? Who's going to put money in my reelection fund? And that's what these insurance companies are doing. And they are passing the worst legislation possible. So let's look at SB 76. So this statute, in my opinion, it hurts the policyholders the most. And it basically, normally there's a statute called 427.428 that permits attorney's fees, right, for insurance claims in Florida. It requires the insurance company to pay our attorney's fees, so the policyholder doesn't have to, right? Why does it confer that benefit? So the policyholder can sue the insurance company without having to incur any money. That's what the statute's for. It's to protect the policyholder. Other than that, they would have to hire an attorney out of their pocket, which they couldn't afford to do, right? So what does this bill does? It chips away at that statute, right? So what it says is that it deviates, right? There's a thing called a lodestar method, right? You multiply the number of hours worked by the reasonable hour rate, right? And that's what your lodestar number is. That's how much technically you get paid. But there's also a thing called a multiplier, which allows a judge to multiply the amount the amount of fees that you generate based upon the complexity of the case, right? So if the judge determines that, hey, this case was tough, it was a denial, this policyholder, this homeowner could not get an attorney of this quality in the area that he lived in. And so I'm going to grant a multiplier of 2. So I'm going to double the attorney's fees because I'm going to punish the insurance company for not paying this claim. This statute now limits the ability to do that. It says exceptional and rare circumstances. Rare and exceptional circumstances can that be issued. Why are they doing this? It's already established in case law when a multiplier can be entered. Why are they putting this in a statute? Because they're trying to chip away at the homeowner's rights. They're trying to they are taking away power and from the homeowner and giving it to the insurance company so they can make more money.
But you mentioned multiplier though, but does that take away from the attorney fees and costs? You could still bill the insurance company.
You certainly can, but it's like another
chipping away.
Tool. It's like another tool that they're chipping away at. So now they're not worried about the multiplier. Oh, so who cares if we deny the claim? Let's litigate the heck out of this and just pay him his hourly rate. No punishment. No, so it almost gives them I would say, an impetus. It gives them a reason now to want to deny claims even more. It's almost like
because it won't cost them as much. That's the threat in litigation. When I send my letters and I threaten them with litigation, they wake up real quick because they understand that it's going to cost them a lot of money. And like this multiplier and stuff, I didn't even know about that multiplier. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like a lot of people don't know this stuff is being passed, and this is just the beginning of it. I'm going to keep going.
And wait, if I could just interject real quick, I do not go to attorney very often. I'm able to settle probably anywhere between 80 and 90% of my claims. That being said, to know that I've got that defense in the back that I could just throw swords and throw everything I can. And if they do get past my line of defense, to know that I have that and I can tell the client, let's file a lawsuit because your attorney fees and costs will be paid for by the insurance company. And it's a great way to threaten the insurance company to make sure they pay what they're supposed to pay is gold. And to take that away would be a disaster.
Absolutely. That would be the turning point to me. If you take the attorney fee statute away from Florida, our rates would go through the roof in this state. It's actually would have the opposite effect. All this propaganda in the media about there's an insurance crisis in Florida because attorneys are litigating cases and the fees are going up. No, it's because insurance companies are denying valid claims, forcing litigation. It's not the other way around.
That makes so much sense. People think it's the other way around.
We don't magically litigate cases, right? Courts will dismiss bad cases in 2 seconds. Are you kidding me? We have a legal standard, a breach of contract. We have to prove that they breached the contract, right?
Absolutely.
If we can't prove that, the case gets dismissed. So the reality is that it's not that way. It's pure corporate propaganda because insurance companies can get away with it, and they are getting away with it. The Florida Chamber of Commerce in Florida, and I'm just being honest with you, funds. It is the most insurance-run organization in the state, and it runs such a lobbying. Such strong lobbying in Tallahassee that all these statutes are getting passed. So that AOB statute got passed. They amended the bad faith statute, which no longer allows you to file a CRN within 60 days of an appraisal demand. What? Why? Why are you chipping away or taking away people's right to file a bad faith complaint? Why are you doing that? Because the insurance company can do that and are getting away with it.
To clarify, in Florida, if you file an appraisal before filing a civil remedy notice, if you file an appraisal, you cannot file a bad faith claim civil remedy notice until 60 days after that appraisal is filed.
They just amended the bad faith statute to say that. So now if you invoke appraisal, and even if you can argue how you want, however you want by looking at the statute. If anybody invokes appraisal, you're not permitted to file a CRN or a bad faith complaint. That we've been calling them CRN. Same thing. Within 60 days. That's horrible. So that gives the carrier 60 days to cure what already they've done is bad faith. Why do that? Why prevent them? Why prevent you from filing a bad faith complaint? So it gives them more an opportunity to do more wrong things. I mean, it just makes no sense. It's just another tool, really, to chip away at the policyholders or the homeowners' rights. Let's keep talking about this SB 76. So not only does it alter attorney's fees by adding, this rare and exceptional circumstances test,
taking away the multiplier.
Yeah, which in essence is taking away the multiplier, which is insane, in my opinion. But it also, right, in my opinion, under 76, it reduces and limits the coverage on roof claims. So under this provision, a carrier, right, can typically it's, they pay a claim based on replacement cost coverage, right? Replacement cost value, right? RCV. And that's the parlance used in the industry, right? Now they're saying that, hey, we can pay you on what the actual value of your roof is. Forget about what it costs to replace it based on its age. So forget about it costs you $50,000 to replace your barrel, clay tile roof. We're going to pay you only $20 because that's what it's worth right now.
Right. I think they're already including. I think I saw a universal policy with that language already in it.
Wow. Well, now they're trying to make it statutory. And that's crazy. Again,
what's the huge difference between that between having it in a policy and making it statutory?
Well, now it doesn't have to be in the policy anymore.
Oh, wow.
Once you put a statute, it applies no matter if it's in the policy or not.
Wow.
This legislation, in essence, it affects the multiplier, getting rid of the multiplier in effect, and then also reducing the coverage for roof claims. Oh my God, a double whammy hitting the homeowner. In my opinion, this will causing more money to come out of the pocket of the homeowner, which will favor the insurance company. It's just crazy. And it's happening right under our noses right now. If DeSantis signs this bill, it becomes law July 1st of this year.
Holy crap! That's like next month.
Yeah, so let's keep going with 76. Right, and then also what it does is that for how typically how they just pass a statute where they say you have to file a supplemental claim within a certain time frame if it's a hurricane or a windstorm claim. I think they made it 2 years from the date of loss.
3 years.
Is it 3 years? Okay. Well, now they're extending this to make it 2 years for any type of claim. So now you have to file a claim within 2 years. No matter what. So they now changed what late notice.
It used to be 5.
2 years. 2 years.
That's crazy. I could be wrong. I think Texas is 1. I don't know. There's another state that I know it's like 1.
And it's just, it's crazy. I just find that, because what if you don't discover your damage until, 2-3 years later?
Who walks on their roof? Nobody walks on their roof unless you got a leak going inside, which a lot of people don't have any interior damages. They just have roof damage and nobody goes up on the roof. Or
it takes a long time sometimes for the leak to travel through all the materials.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You actually see the damage in your roof. I mean, remember, man, there's shingles or tile. There's underlayment. There's decking. There's wood. There's all these materials.
Look at you. Look at you, roofing expert. The other thing though is reopening claims too. I mean, a lot of times they file their claims when they're supposed to, and they get underpaid. They don't know that they could dispute it. 2 years later, 2.5 years later, they've done the repairs. Just a minor repair because they didn't get paid enough. It's nice. I mean, that's how I made my money when I started in 2008 was reopening Wilma claims. I walked in 3.5 years later. They might not have had a tarp, but there was a repair made. There was a drywall patch done. And I'm like, okay, we could reopen this. I see that you had damage. You just didn't get paid enough. And I was able to do that up to 5 years. I'd say, come year 5, it got a little bit slower. But for 2 years, year 3 and year 4, I was going door to door signing the hell out of those things.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
If this statute, if this passes, if this bill passes, man, not anymore. So here's another thing that it adds.
Oh my God, this is a nightmare. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight, Ali.
I know, man. That's why when we were at the event, the Orlando meetup, I wanted to go into more detail about this, but there were too many people.
Yeah.
But we are under attack. Homeowners are under attack. And remember, rates have gone up this year, double digits for some people, putting in the middle of a pandemic, potential foreclosures. I mean, all this happening where people are, can no longer afford to pay their mortgage. And now we have to deal with this scenario. Insane. Now it also adds a 60-day notice. So now you have to provide a 60-day notice to the insurance company that you intend to initiate litigation. So then now you give them 60 days notice, and what do they do? What do they think they're going to do in that 60 days, Vince? They're going to demand appraisal. Then you get no fees, and you're screwed. And they come out with a nice appraisal award to minimize their damage. And then you know how appraisal is, right? They try to get an umpire to give a favorable award to them every single time.
For those of you listening on the podcast, Ali is just on fire right now. He's looking straight into the camera. He's just like, he's lit.
Am I not lying? Am I telling the truth? You go on these appraisals, and they're appointing guys. Their appraiser, they're appointing guys who've been working in the insurance industry or on their behalf for decades, and then they complain about the appraiser on the other side who has been working for policyholders. Well, who are you hiring?
No, like State Farm, they want the disinterested appraiser when they're sending somebody on their own team.
Oh, horrible. And then so what you do is then the umpire, they try to send to someone that's also been working for the insurance industry. So they force you to go in front of a judge, and then the judge typically appoints a retired judge or a mediator or somebody who has no skin in the game, right? And to me, that's like, that happens so often. That is also a common business practice. I'm seeing more and more now also where they're telling people, hey, we're compelling appraisal, even though there's a mediation or appraisal provision in the policy instead of appraisal, giving the insured the right to go to mediation instead of appraisal at no cost. But no. We're going to invoke appraisal and put that blanket over your eyes. So that mediation provision doesn't exist. Are you kidding me? I'm going through this stuff right now.
Mediation or appraisal. Does that mean it has to be one or the other?
Yeah. And you tell me, last time I looked up or in the dictionary, right? It's exclusive, right? Hey, do you want an apple or an orange? Vince, tell me.
Apple.
So you don't want an orange, right?
Not necessarily.
But at that moment, right, you pick the apple, right? The provision says mediation or appraisal. It says specifically. So once you pick one, that's it. You shouldn't be going to the other one. The policy, it doesn't say mediation and appraisal. It doesn't say mediation then appraisal. It doesn't say appraisal then mediation. It says mediation or appraisal. So to me, you got to look out for this stuff. A lot of these endorsements have that provision in there. And then there's also a statute, Florida Statute 627.705, which prefers mediation over appraisal. A lot of people don't know about that either. And then that statute also requires the carrier to pay for mediation. So, there are, tools there to use them,
The carrier always pays for mediation.
Because they're required to under that statute, 627.7015. So, but let's keep looking at, let's look at this bill a little bit more. This bill right now I guess, according to what I'm reading right now, it was approved by the Senate Banking and Insurance Committee and is awaiting a hearing by the Judiciary Committee. So this is coming up.
Who do we got to talk to?
Oh man, whoever's in that Judiciary Committee. The attorney's fees under this statute is going to be under a sliding scale structure. So like the AOB statute that they just passed, saying that so if we don't recover a certain percentage of the public adjuster's estimate, well, we're not entitled to fees. Are you kidding me? That will annihilate the fee statute. This is all happening right now underneath our noses, and no one is doing a thing about it.
What do we got to do? FAPIA, where are you? Let's do this. I am part of one of the committees in FAPIA. I need to be more active as well. We got to do something about this.
Really need to go after this Judiciary Committee, every senator in that committee, and basically tell them to vote against this bill. Now, the counterpart to this bill is to this Senate bill is House Bill 305. Okay. The only difference is that bill has the same requirements that I just went over with as Senate Bill 76. It just doesn't require that you give 60 days, attempt to initiate litigation to the carrier. But other than that, so you have two bills that mirror each other in the House and the Senate that are destroying the policyholder that we really need to do something about. That bill is waiting hearing in the Florida Senate Banking and Insurance Subcommittee. So the Housing, Bank, and Insurance Subcommittee and the Florida Senate Banking and Insurance Subcommittee, if they are different, we as attorneys, as public adjusters, as homeowners, we all need to go after these guys and talk to them and tell them, please do not pass this legislation. DeSantis is going to sign off on this in 2 seconds. He's a Republican governor. Whatever your political views are, I don't care. The Republican Party in the state of Florida is run by the insurance industry, whether we like it or not. Whether you're conservative, liberal, whatever, I'm just telling you what it is, okay? It's a Republican-dominated legislature right now. That's why these bills are passing. So we got to be careful. And the last bill is Senate Bill 212. This is a standalone bill, right? This also basically is like a kind of like a backdoor bill that addressing attorney's fees and their reasonableness and multipliers. Okay. So it's just another one that it basically entails adopting the lodestar fee for property insurance policy lawsuits only. Basically, another one that harms or limits our ability to get attorney's fees. These bills really, I can't emphasize more enough. I'm on LinkedIn all day long, pointing out all these articles that basically point out that how these bills are chipping away at homeowners' rights and are destroying our rights.
HB 305. Can you get into that a little bit more?
HB 305. Yeah, it's just the counterpart to SB 76. All the same provisions. So everything I just went over with you, that's in our in the House, right? So we have a Senate and a House. So both of these are mirroring each other. Eventually, one's going to be passed, right, as a bill. One. Right. They're going to come in, they're going to meet, and they come up with one bill that'll be signed by DeSantis. We got to stop this, man. We really do.
This is crazy. So, all right. So just to go over everything that you just talked about, number of hours, the multiplier, ACV on roof claims, that's a joke.
Insanity.
2-year reopens, 60-day notice for attorneys to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
This is brutal.
A sliding scale for attorney's fees. So no more if I get a judgment against them at trial, $1 more than they're offering, and I get fees, I have to beat them by a certain percentage to get fees. Are you kidding me? Might as well just get rid of the fee statute at that point.
Right.
That's gonna get the carriers, make them more brazen and challenge more valid claims.
Absolutely, they're gonna want
exactly the opposite of what the statute 627.428 is supposed to do. I wish I could tell you that I'm positive right now. But I'm not.
No. You've given me nightmares. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to obviously contact the Florida Department of Financial Services. We need to contact FAPIA to make sure that we can get everything together. I mean, now you're just kind of making me pumped. Seems to me like we need to reach out to these people to see what we can do.
And the insurance industry, their propaganda machine has turned this into they're claiming all these bills are going to reduce the cost of homeowners insurance claims and protect the policyholders. Dude, if they're trying to do that, why did they just raise rates this year, double digits recently, and now all these people's homes are going to go into foreclosure?
Right.
If they really care about homeowners, why are they really raising rates? This is actually going to cause rates to go up even more. You know, if you look at my LinkedIn page, there's article after article where the insurance company are cash rich, man. I mean, they are billionaires. There's no crisis. There's nothing going on. This is just corporate America, corporate greed getting its way at the expense of your common man, me and you, your homeowner.
Yep.
We got to wake up, man. Like, really, this is the worst legislation I've seen in almost a decade, if not more.
Wow, I'm speechless. Which is that doesn't happen very often.
So, as an organization, you know, at our Orlando meetup, you know, and a future meetups, I brought up the issue. We got to make this. We got to bring this to the forefront, man. We got 4 months now. 4 months almost from today's date. Today's March 2nd, right? 4 months to, you know, stop this thing from getting worse. So
let's go. Public adjusters, stand up. We need to unite big time now more than ever.
So yeah, it took me, you know, it's funny, like, you know, I would never have thought that I would be this worried about legislation and all this stuff. But, you know, once I left being a prosecutor and joined, you know, change fields of law and joined this field, you know, which is basically property insurance litigation. I mean, legislation gets changed every year now. And it's like, man, wow. You know, you have to just be on the ball. You got to know what's happening around you. Or, you know, you're not going to be able to help protect homeowners' rights.
Yeah. So luckily, like I said, there is FAPIA. They do have a committee where what they do is they reach out to senators and they reach out to people in the House. They try to put meetings together with them so they could discuss, you know, how much this will hurt. I'm definitely going to reach out to them. I am part of like a group chat there. It's hard to keep up with a little bit, but definitely reaching out to some of these people is probably very important. So whether you're a part of FAPIA or not, or any of the governmental organizations that we have across the country, you know, it's a good idea to become part of this as public adjusters and to reach out to local senators, reach out to local, House of Representatives and see, make sure stuff like this doesn't pass. Because I'll tell you what, I said it once and I say it again, even though I don't end up in litigation a lot, it's still nice to know that I have that there, that I know that there's going to be attorneys who are going to be happy to take my case because, you know, obviously we've done our work on our end as PAs and set up the case correctly, but it's going to be worth it for them. Because what happens is you've got states that, frankly, if there's no attorney fee statute, then and it's going into the actual cost of the repairs, the homeowner's not going to have any money to actually do any repairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, funny thing is people don't realize that Florida's laws right now protect homeowners probably more than any other state. And Louisiana, I think recently, in Texas, you've seen, you know, the attorney's fee statute get chipped away at. And it's funny, it's coming this way. And I just really, we really need to start like pointing out, you know, State Farm, Liberty Mutual, all these big carriers, you know, we really need to start understanding that they're not our friends. They're not looking out for us and they're just looking to make money. And they're the biggest, you know, deceivers. You know, you watch these commercials and you think these guys are helping you. You know that State Farm's homeowners insurance policies have mold exclusions in Florida?
Yes.
You know,
yes, I do. It's annoying. I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. So how are they a good neighbor? So like a good neighbor, State Farm screws you without telling you have mold coverage?
Listen, man, I always say if they're not paying out claims, but if they could afford Super Bowl commercial after Super Bowl commercial, obviously they're doing something right on the business end, which is not paying their claims. And
they have also a provision where they require you to file a sworn proof of loss without even a request. How are you supposed to know to do that if you're a homeowner?
Oh, you have to do it. You have to do it 60 days from the date of loss. What if you don't even file the claim until day 90 or day 61?
It's crazy, and I find that stuff's insane. You know, they are. You know, their nickname is Snake Farm, and appropriately so. They are the biggest fraud. And the funny thing is, they're what, a Fortune 500 company.
Yes.
They're the biggest carrier in America.
Yes.
And their policies are the worst.
And they know it. They're so arrogant. I used to work for them. Auto insurance.
Me too. I was an attorney for them, and I was like, man, wow. I just couldn't. How arrogant they really are.
They used to tell me this is the greatest job in the world. This was like in 2007, 2008 during the financial crisis. This is the greatest job in the world. You should be lucky to even have a job. We're going to tell you when to take a bathroom, when to have lunch, and when to be on the phones, and when to do all this. But you know what? You should be lucky to even have a job. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm out of here.
Oh my God.
Quit.
That's how they are.
Can we talk about something a little bit better now, so that we're not just going to be breaking out into sweats in the middle of the night?
Oh man, let's be positive. I'm still positive. I'm always positive, you know?
As passionate as you were right now, one thing that I am not going to forget about the Orlando meetup is the perma-smile that you had from the beginning of the night until the end, even after the bill arrived. Well, maybe not as much then, but still. The smile that you had throughout the night was just freaking classic. I spoke to my wife, and I'm like, do you see Ali? She's like, she started cracking up. She's like, he's so freaking excited. He is like pumped. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I really was. I mean, to see that many people come to an event and to have an audience like that, to communicate with everybody, the networking, just the exposure to people in the industry. I mean, it's priceless, you know. As an attorney or even as a public adjuster, it's all about relations, right?
Absolutely.
People don't want to, give claims to any average Joe or Joe Schmo, right? They have to trust you, and it's an honor actually to get in a claim from a public adjuster, a contractor, or a policyholder, homeowner, and you represent them in court. And these events help you create that rapport within the industry. You know, help you develop those relationships. People start to look at you and they see, okay, this guy's actually litigates cases. He settled over 500 something cases in the past 3 years. This guy's somebody that I might consider. You know, he's settled over $13 million in gross settlements in less than 3.5 years. He's shown me the numbers. He's got a good plan. These kind of events allow you to meet people and interact with each other. I meet a public adjuster who's pushing over 300 claims a year, who's looking for an attorney to help him because he's reached a point where he's got 100 claims that, he needs help on that needs to go to litigation. Well, you know what? You're not going to trust anybody with those claims. You got to trust someone that you're going to, that's going to do a good job for you. And these kind of events, getting to know people, are really wonderful, man. And to have that opportunity to meet people in the industry, that's why my face was smiling the entire time. It was like, man, this is a blessing, you know?
I liked it because everybody has like a common purpose. Everybody has a common goal. Everybody's there to just sort of be with one another, share each other's knowledge. One thing, since I started this commercial claims advocate and educating, my target market is newer public adjusters. I'd say from 0 to 2 years is really the majority of the people that listen, not on the podcast, but more on like the courses and the educational videos that I do. I've actually learned more from them than I think they probably have learned from me. And I've been doing this for almost 14 years now. It's just a little nuances because they're newer to the game. So they're like trying out different things, or they're working for a particular company that's doing a particular thing. And I'm just like, oh, wow, you know what? I didn't even think about that, because sometimes I am a little bit old. We all eventually become a little bit old school in our ways because we stick with what works. But when we find out some of the new things that are going on, it's really cool. And what I've noticed with bringing public adjusters together is that we share all that knowledge, and it only makes us stronger, because there's no reason for us to be competing against each other. As you know, there is plenty of business out there. There are plenty of claims out there across Florida, across the country, and there's no reason why we should be fighting one another, because at the end of the day, it's really not us against us. Frankly, it's us against them. I
agree. And I feel the same way about, fellow plaintiffs attorneys. We have these events. We share so much information within the plaintiffs.
Sure.
There's a FAPIA attorneys organization, by the way, where we're all sharing motions and recommendations for mediators. On our side, it's much more cordial, because we all represent, because we're looking really to protect the homeowner, right? Which is us, right? Who is the homeowner, right? It's not some ambiguous person from up in the sky. It's the homeowner, right? It's you and me. It's your mom. it's your dad, it's your uncle, your aunt, it's Uncle Bob across the street, it's your Ned Flanders and Homer Simpson's neighbor. These are obviously not real, but you know what I mean, man. Yeah. These are real people, and people have to understand that that's who we represent. Versus these giant corporations that are looking just to minimize their losses and make as much money as possible. It was funny. I worked for State Farm, right? And it was when I was leaving them, we had meetings and they discussed, how in these meetings, and I'm not going to give too much information away because I worked there. I don't want to violate my trust with them because I did work there. But I can certainly describe to you how they would talk about how much business they were making and how the business has gone up for them within the last 3 years. So all this stuff I'm watching in the media about, there's an insurance crisis and they're causing litigations is causing rates to go up and it's a crisis and the homeowner is suffering. Dude, this is all because of the insurance company. I work for them. I just left them. They are making a ton of money. They are, in fact, now putting in policies where what's this new concept where businesses are trying to become more efficient and implement all these new financial cost-cutting measures in their company. State Farm is no different.
Right. Yeah, all of them.
They are right now. When I left, they shut down like 2 or 3 offices.
They shut down the one I worked for in Miami. They shut down the one I worked for, I think, in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I think the only one they have right now is Winter Haven.
Yeah. And the reason why is because, they've used statistics within their own.
It's that ratio I'm talking about too. They have to have premiums over claim payments. It's just a must. And it's not just claim payments, but it's also payroll too. Payroll has to be under premiums as well.
Analytics. So they're using analytics. That's what they're called it now, right? Basketball, NFL using it. Analytics everywhere, right? It's a common parlance used. Now State Farm is using analytics to basically get rid of people and make more money. That's it. That's really it.
Speaking of rates, though, you know how many people have decided to not file a claim because they're worried their rates are going to go up as a result of the claim? It's so ridiculous every time. These people, I try to explain to them, but people are just so brainwashed by the tons of commercials, commercial, like a good neighbor, in good hands, all this crap. And then the worst part is for us, when you Google search public adjuster or how to hire a public adjuster or benefits of a public adjuster, whatever, the first 10 sites are written by insurance company people and that are bashing. You don't have to hire a public adjuster. You shouldn't hire a public adjuster. Be careful with the public adjuster and all this. Watch out for this and watch out for that. And it's like, come on, guys.
I know the propaganda is really, and it's crazy. And
I tell people, I said, be careful. I know you're going to, so I'll schedule an appointment for tomorrow. I know from here to tomorrow, you're going to Google search public adjuster. Just be careful because a lot of those negative comments are written by insurance companies.
And they all are. And that's the thing, because it affects their bottom line. And they say something like when someone hires a public adjuster, it's something like there's a 50%.
850%.
Yeah, something like that, something insane, right? Like raise in terms of claim payment. So of course they're going to encourage people not to get them. They're going to scare you.
Of course, yes, of course.
It hurts their business model.
Yes, exactly.
I have a public adjuster who just showed me an anti-public adjusting endorsement.
It's there.
Policy. And I'm like, is this even valid? Because it violates the statute. You can't pass an endorsement that violates a statute.
What statute does it violate, please?
The public adjuster statute, the statute that allows for public adjusters. You can't use a statute to create a profession and then say, then the insurance policy to eliminate it. Isn't that if the law says, hey, we're creating this profession, right? But yet the policy is going to eliminate that profession, is going to eliminate that statute. I don't know. I'm thinking that this is something we should challenge. And take it front of a judge.
I've seen it. I ran into it once. I filed a claim anyway. I was able to get paid. They didn't call me out on it.
I have one going on right now, and I'm like, send me the whole he just sent me the letter where they don't even cite to the actual provision.
Right.
They just cite to that public adjuster.
It's in the back of the policy. It's random. It's just sitting there.
So I'm like, I told the public adjuster, send me the entire letter. Let me take a look at it, and let me see what this thing says. If we got to, we fight it. We'll just file suit. They don't want to let you get involved with it. We'll file suit, and then they'll end up having. Then I'll get you 20% for you. Okay?
There you go. It's crazy, huh?
Really?
People don't understand the crap that we have to deal with.
And to me, it's like, okay, you're forcing public adjusters now. Anti-public adjuster statute, what does that do now? That forces now the case to go to litigation even quicker. Right? Absolutely. So how is that helping the whole, so it's just like, it's like a silly endorsement. It's just like, really? And then the Department of Financial Services, right?
Allows that shit.
Where are they? They
allow that shit. It pisses me off.
Oh, what about the $10,000 water damage caps that they're allowing and that they slipped into the policy?
It's so mafia when I don't like to usually mention, but fuck it, we've been mentioning insurance companies. It's so mafia when Citizen says, here's what we're going to do. You have a $50,000 loss. You can choose our people and we'll honor the $50,000 worth of damage. But if you don't use our people, we're going to strong arm you and only pay you 10. How does that get passed?
That's horrible.
How does that happen?
That's actually not a bad one. There's ones that actually just cap water damage to 10,000, no matter what.
That's annoying too, obviously, but still, there's something about giving you that and or either or.
I know.
It's so mafia that it's just like, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to grab you by the balls and you're going to do whatever we want to do. And then it's hard to go against that because frankly, it's like you now agree to not use their people. So it's like, it doesn't look good either.
It's almost like it's like a violation of the RICO Act. It's like what is this? It's like a racket, you know? In essence, it's a racket. It's exactly a racket, and it's what you're talking about with the Senate Judiciary, with the Senate bill. I mean, that's what it is the people who are there who are passing these things too. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you've got the lobbyists, you've got all these things. They're all run by insurance companies, so they're going to side with insurance companies because they have the billions of dollars to give them to get reelected. Senator Boyd, Boyd, he's the guy that's been pushing this legislation the hardest. And he has been working for the insurance industry for most of his career. I think he was an insurance agent. And oh my God, this guy's like the most anti-homeowner friendly legislation that I can remember, and it's all happening because really the Republican legislature is dominating the state right now. And we have, as attorneys, public adjusters, man, we have to do something, really. Or it's just going to get worse. Absolutely. Hey, Ali, would you? Do you want your kids to be an attorney? To be lawyers? No. Never. No. Never. No way. Why not? I love what I do, but it takes a certain personality. What do you mean? Like you have no soul? Come on, man. I got a soul. No, you're the man. Hey, I made diddly squat, by the way. I was a prosecutor for over 5.5 years, and I barely made anything. Right. Like I worked for the government, all right? And then I did insurance defense work for almost then a decade after. Dude, we don't get paid much on the insurance defense side, by the way. That's what I was going to just talk about. Like those guys don't get paid much either, right? It's like the water mitigation guys. It's like the AOB guys. Like it's the same thing, right? They don't get paid jack. No. And then I did that mainly to learn how the insurance industry works. So I was a prosecutor to basically learn how to try cases. I got to try jury trial after jury trial. So I figured out that, hey, I'm a decent trial attorney. And then I didn't want to do criminal defense because I threw too many bad guys in prison. And I have little girls and I wanted to change fields. So I was like, you know what? I want to sue insurance companies. At the end of the day, I would really like to be that consumer advocate type attorney. That's really what a homeowner's advocate, policyholders advocate. That's what I wanted to be. But to get to that point, I know I gotta lie down with the snakes in the grass to see how the snakes function, and that's what I did for about a decade. I worked for, different law firms from Gorelli Salmon Colescott Cassane, Butler Pappas, to an in-house trial attorney for State Farm for almost a decade working for these insurance companies. I worked for close to, man, I don't know, man. I can't give an exact percentage, but it seems like over 70 to 80% of insurance companies in this state. I used to train the corporate representatives for Citizens and State Farm for depositions when the depositions were coming up. So I set myself up to where when I needed to switch sides, I knew what I was doing. I knew how a bad faith complaint CRN has an effect on the insurance company because I was on that side for a decade and saw how it affected them.
What happens? What happens?
Oh my God. So usually when you file a CRN, it goes to the adjuster supervisor. Typically a red flag goes off and someone looks at the claim closer. And typically more authorities put on the file, or, something is done on the file that where the attention is given that you were seeking, where they were totally ignoring you before. I even have, with my work with my public adjusters, I even have certain emails and I tell them to ask for certain documents. And I tell them, look, ask for these documents and make them justify to you why they're not giving it to you.
I do that right off the bat.
Good. Yeah.
I send a letter with my LOR requesting a bunch of documents, especially if it's a claim that's already been paid. I request a whole ton of stuff.
Good. Excellent.
And ask them why what?
Why, if they're not giving it to you, why? A lot of times they'll say, well, it's work product. It's legal. Well, why is it work product? What about it is a work product? Make them articulate why they're not giving you stuff, because that shows you more. That proves the bad faith even more. And that helps me as an attorney when I get the case. Okay, why do they do this? Why they didn't do this? And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Like, why are you not giving the policy before the lawsuit? You have a reason for that? So you're just gonna you can just put a blindfold around my client's eye, tell the claim is denied without giving them a copy of the policy? That's not right. That's bad faith. You're putting your interest over my client's interest. That's against the law, buddy. Bad faith, CRN. Oh, you're saying that the wear and tear exclusion applies to this provision? How is this roof being worn and torn? This ain't a car. You don't drive a roof. How is this roof exhibiting wear and tear? Cut this bullshit out, man. Seriously, that's some straight up bullshit. Wear and tear is a common parlance that you use when you run down something, right? Your car, whatever, right? That shit's wear and tear. It calls wear and tear. There's no wear and tear to a roof. A roof only sits on your roof, man. It either functions or it doesn't function. And what's the reason for it? Okay, if you're saying it's old, that's why it's not functioning, just say that. Is old excluded under the policy? No. The burden is on them. It's an all-risk policy, right? So actual physical direct loss is covered typically, right? That's the language in the policy, right? They don't like to talk about this stuff, right? They love to talk about their exclusions, but they don't want to talk about the provision that actually provides coverage, because that's even stronger. And actually, it's the carrier's burden to prove the exclusion at trial, not the other way around. So in fact, you don't even have to put an expert up at trial. You don't have to call an engineer. You don't have to call. I like to. I want to, but you don't have to. You just have to get up and say, you know what? My property got damaged during this policy period. It's covered. Now they have to prove that it's excluded. So, to me, just from the nature of the provisions that they're citing and how they, it's silly. And like that wear and tear provision, they use it religiously to deny roof claims. And then they wonder why you file suit. Deny it for a legitimate reason. Show it's not covered under the policy. If it's not covered under the policy, then we won't file a lawsuit.
Simple as that.
What was that?
Woo! Spitting hot fire from Ali Kadir.
Excuse my French for swearing, but
you told me you weren't going to curse. You said that we weren't going to curse because of your kids, and look at you potty mouth.
I try not to curse. But yeah, so just going back to it, my experience as, going through all that for a decade. Now I'm an attorney in a plaintiff's firm for the past 3 years. And I've used all that knowledge and experience to go after them. Man, 13 million in gross settlements in less than 3.5 years.
That's badass.
I'm obviously doing something right. My methods work in some way. That's because I worked for the carrier for so long that, they know I mean business. I tried cases for State Farm. So when I'm setting a case for trial for State Farm, they know I'm going to go to trial. And it's going to be a knockdown, drag them out trial. And if they want to go, okay, we can go. But most carriers end up paying,
Yeah, I was going to say, how often do you end up in trial? Because 13 years, I've never been in trial.
I went to trial as a prosecutor more than, and then on the defense side at State Farm twice. And then on this past less than 3.5 years, none. They all settle. My client gets the money that they want.
But you're ready. You're ready.
I'm ready. I prep them as if they're going to trial. That's why I set depositions right off the bat. I file my CRN. I have that dangling over their head. So if they want to go to trial and I get $1, I'm going to file a bad faith lawsuit the next day. And I love juries. I love picking juries. As a prosecutor, I grew to love that stuff. So, it's like my second home. The courtroom to me. I love it. I love it. Either you love it or you hate it. Either it fits you or it doesn't. And it doesn't matter what law school you went to, whether you went to Harvard, whether you went to Nova, a lower ranked law school, or whatever the heck you want to call it. That does not mean jack shit. Okay. Johnny Cochran went to like a 4th tier law school. Okay.
Hey, he's a bad motherfucker.
It does not mean jack shit, by the way. I'm just being honest with you. All that counts is that, does a jury like you? Can you present your argument? Are you quick on your feet? Can you think quick? Can you change your argument on the fly based upon what this person's telling you? Can you cross-examine someone based upon what they're telling you? Can you change how you're going to ask a question based upon what this juror is asking you, And I love that shit, Like, I feed off of that. Like, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be doing acting. One of the two. I like being in front of people, and it makes me go, But I'm not acting here in the courtroom. I represent the homeowner. I represent the right side, and I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire. I'm gonna take you to trial. I'm gonna get my client their money if you don't pay, because you know what? I'm ready to do it, and I prep myself for that, and I enjoy it. And the carriers know that. The carriers know on the other side which attorney's bluffing, which attorney is actually going to go to trial, and which one just talks a good game.
They do, huh?
Oh, of course. Man, the first thing they ask on the defense side who's the attorney?
Right.
Who filed lawsuit?
That's it. Who's my bitch?
Yeah. Oh, he's just going to settle. Oh, right. If it's this guy, he's going to take your depo. It's going to be 5-6 hours. He's going to knock you down. He's going to bother you. He's going to take this guy's depo. Just settle the shit. It's not worth your time.
This guy's an asshole, which is probably the best thing you want to hear from the other side.
I love to be hated. I'm the nicest guy in the world during the depo. But I ask the toughest questions. And they end up being 4 or 5 hours, not intentionally, because they're not answering my question. And then by the time we're done, they never want to see me again.
Love it.
But we get our money. We get our money right away. And it's wonderful. And to me, that's where I get my pleasure. I get no pleasure from making people feel bad, look bad. I'm a dad with kids, man. At this point, it's not about personal things, I'm doing it. I'm really doing it to help people. Like, when I was a prosecutor, I loved helping victims, man, in the courtroom. Like people that have been sexually abused, victims of domestic violence. Like that's what fed me. That's what made me go. When I went to trial with the sex victim, the sex abuse victim, are you kidding me? Like, let's go, and oh yeah, the jury convicted you? Yeah, see my face? I convicted you. Like I had no qualms about that. Like I'm like, yep, this is me. Yep. I put you in prison. Okay, during sentencing, I make sure you see my face.
Wow, you're ruthless.
Because they were such bad people, and I felt good doing that to them. That's why I did that job. I never put someone in prison that didn't deserve it. In my opinion, and I don't enjoy ruining people's lives, but if you're doing such a heinous crime, someone's got to hold you accountable, right? and the prosecutor will. I've had some crazy cases, man. Like I've seen people get hit with baseball bats. Like there's one case, this guy, a gentleman went into a hair salon and on video robbed it with the baseball bat by bashing the woman's head in, all on video. And you hear it too. Like a Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire home run. You're like, really? And this guy wants some kind of, leeway with the sentence. He wants a sentence reduced. Are you joking? It's either full sentence or we go to trial. Oh, I'm going to plead to the judge. Go ahead, plead to the judge. I'm going to show the judge the video. Okay. And let's see if the judge will sentence him for less than 30 years, and he pled to the court. That happens a lot of times when they want to go to trial against you. They'll plead to the judge because I think the judge will give them a lower sentence. And unfortunately, sometimes you get a bad judge that gives like BS sentences sometimes, and you're like, it undermines you as a prosecutor. It sucks sometimes. But this judge was he was definitely not the judge that hit people with hard sentences. So I was a little bit worried. But I showed this judge the video. Once he saw the video, he's like, is this a joke? He's like, I have to give you the max sentence.
The video will do it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And this guy got put in prison for 30 years off that, for pleading to the judge. So I'm like, the same result would have happened if we went to trial because that was the max sentence. But, that's the thing. Like as a prosecutor, that drives you. You enjoy that stuff. Same thing on this side. Obviously, people are not getting robbed and not physically robbed. Right. They get robbed in another way by the carrier, right? Sure. Your regular homeowner is getting screwed in their most vulnerable situation, right? There's damage to your house. You got kids at home. You're an elderly person, and you got this insurance company who's got all the money in the world, deepest pocket on the planet, is saying, no, it's excluded under some BS exclusion. Oh, are you kidding me? At my most vulnerable state, you're screwing me? Why else did I buy insurance? That's what drives you, right? I'm
Absolutely.
Sure you're the same way, man.
I see it all the time. I mean, people are just getting screwed left and right. It's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, you should see, I've got this claim right now that's in litigation that they claim that there was no physical damage as a result of this loss. There's water damage everywhere. Everywhere. Like crazy. All over the place, and they're trying to tell me no. I mean, I'm not worried because we're gonna hit a home run on it, but at the same time, it's just like you're just delaying this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you doing this? Like,
bad faith complaint, CRN.
Who do you work for? I mean, and you're right. It literally says it that it literally says it in the statutes and in the law that they're supposed to be looking out. It's their job to look out for the homeowners and the policyholders' best interest, and it's ridiculous. It's a business. It's not in their best interest.
They never do. They never will. Unless you hold them accountable. That's why we exist, man. That's why you exist. That's why I exist. Man, we're here to battle, man. Help battle for the most vulnerable people.
Well, I mean, we could wrap this up. That was
it was amazing. Great talking to you, man.
Dude, that was amazing. You're a fucking badass.
No, man. I actually enjoy talking to you more than anything. You bring out things.
How did you say, first of all, you're a star. Second of all, how is it you're like me? You were all this talk before the meetup about how it wasn't going to be good. You weren't sure you were going to be able to perform well in front of the audience, but you're a freaking rock star, Ali. Get out of here.
It's funny. Like, I just, it's like the passion that drives you, right? For what?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like, I don't do it for myself. I honestly, for me, it's the homeowner, it's my family. Like you say, man. Yeah. When you look at it from that angle, you gave the most appropriate introduction during the meetup, and I was like, man, that is a great, because that's exactly why we do it. And I get nervous. Everyone gets butterflies, right? Even when 50 trials underneath my belt, and I still get butterflies at a meeting, right? Just the nature of being human, right? If you don't care, I care so much about making sure that this thing went well and that everyone, people got their drinks, people were able to communicate with each other. We're actually exchanging ideas, not just, talking to talk,
Absolutely. It's great. And I also love like public adjusters, fellow public adjusters are just cool people, man. Like everybody's like super cool. Like, you know how they always talk about this industry, especially, the bad public adjusters, always like the bad public adjusters. And I'm like, now I've gotten to the point where I used to say, well, sir, in any industry, you've got your bad apples. Now I'm just like, fuck that. There aren't any. There's a maybe, whatever, like any other industry, like a couple. But for the most part, every single public adjuster that I have talked to that reaches out to me, that goes to the meetup that I talk to on a daily basis are great people looking out for the policyholders, doing whatever they can to get them the money that they need to do the repairs. Obviously, we need to make a living. So obviously, we need to charge a percentage for that. But that being said, that's not what it's about. We all know that. Most public adjusters, and I would say a large majority, are looking out for the policyholder's best interests.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be a bad apple in every profession. There's bad doctors. There's bad, you can never change that. But it's no different than any other profession. The public adjusters are the most demonized profession in the state after attorneys. It's like we can't get any good coverage from us in the media or whatever. We're automatically looked at as bloodsuckers. It's sad. It's kind of sad, and I get it. Maybe there's been some reputation been developed with some, bad, seedy characters in the industry, but they're also good attorneys. They're also good. Majority of attorneys are good. Majority of public adjusters are good. And hey, how's it going?
She can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the majority is.
Vast majority. And when you meet good people like yourself, and when you see that there's good attorneys out there helping you, they're not trying to milk you or to milk cases from you, you're actually working together to get good results. Isn't that actually a good thing? Isn't that beautiful? That makes insurance companies virtually unstoppable. Impossible to stop us.
Yes.
It's when we become corrupt and when we start getting silly is when we open up opportunities for them to do bad stuff to us.
Exactly. So why would we do that? We have no intention to do that. It just doesn't make sense.
Let's keep a beautiful thing beautiful, right?
I've had attorneys say, I've called, especially early in my career, I've called, asked them for advice. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Oh, well, just give it to me and I'll file a CRN. Just hand it over to me and I'll file a CRN. And I'm like, that's not why I called you.
Yeah. No, my job is to educate you, to tell you how to draft a CRN. And then if you're able to resolve it, great. No litigation needed. I got you the results that you wanted. You're going to want to use me as an attorney somewhere down the line later because I helped you out without having to delay your claim, right? But isn't that what I should be doing?
And to bring this full circle, it's how we started the conversation, was you are a firm believer that litigation, lawsuits, whatever, should be absolutely last resort.
Correct. And they are when they deny your claim, they underpay your claim, or they don't do anything in 90 days. That's the three reasons. Really, that any one of those three things, the insurance has breached the insurance policy, and you can file suit.
That's it. Even denials, I get them reversed because they know.
Wonderful.
They know.
And obviously, when you file suit, they get reversed regularly, right?
Yeah.
The one that gets reversed the most, I love, is the seepage one, right? Constant repeated seepage. That's like the worst ambiguous. There's all this case law that's held to be ambiguous, and they keep denying claims on that exclusion. I'm like, are you serious? Because this is the stupidest, dumbest exclusion, and which courts have held to be ambiguous. And you're telling me not to push that to trial? You're telling me not to bring that in front of a judge when all the case law says it's ambiguous? Of course I am, because you're relying upon it unlawfully to deny my client's claim, right, Vince? Which they do every freaking day.
Every freaking time.
And so who's wrong? Right then and there, that's an ambiguous policy provision, conclusively held to be ambiguous by case law. Yet they're still using it to deny claims.
Can you?
Who's committing the bad faith?
Can you lead any of our listeners to that case law?
Yeah, Hicks, Whiteley. I can give you the citations.
Are we allowed to use case law? Is that like a? Oh, look at your face. I love it.
I say, why not? Why aren't you not allowed to? Who says not? I mean, look, as long as you're not practicing law, right? You got to be careful, right? You don't want to look like you're being an attorney, right? Because that's where you kind of blur the lines a little bit, right? As a public adjuster, sometimes you're a policy advocate, right? but you do not want to blur the lines and be an attorney, right? Like you can't. What's the difference between the two? It's kind of, it can be challenging sometimes, right? Because you are an advocate, and both are advocates. The way I look at it is that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see how I just don't see how citing a case from years ago, whatever it is, I don't see how that's us practicing law. That's just citing something that's over and done with. It's a case from years ago. Like, what is that? We're not.
I think practicing law would be more like you're filing like complaints in court. You're acting like you're an attorney, and even though you're a public adjuster, you're not practicing law.
Can you be more specific? Because I don't see a big difference besides the fact that we're not barred and we're not licensed attorneys.
Well, like you can't file a lawsuit, right?
Right. Why the hell would I want to do that? That costs money.
That's it. That's really it, right? Like you can't ever you're not going to write a letter and say, hey, I'm an attorney, da-da-da-da-da.
That's it.
Other than that, to me, like you're not going to be writing like motions and briefs and giving them case law interpreting this opinion. You may just know of an opinion, say, hey, there's opinion that's held this provision that you're relying upon to be ambiguous. Here it is. You're not going to be like drafting a motion about it, and that's, to me, that's the difference. You get what I'm saying? Because like you're not practicing law. You're basically stepping into the shoes of the insured and doing what they can do. They can look up that case themselves online. I mean, right? That doesn't change as long as you're not turning into an attorney, and that's it. And I think we kind of define that, right? You're not practicing law. So I think you're not saying, hey, I'm an attorney representing the insured. That to me is practicing law. Absolutely. Or you're drafting like briefs and like motions interpreting this provision and doing stuff. I wouldn't even know where to do that. Can people even do that? Yeah, you shouldn't be, right? So yeah, correct. Right? Where would you do that? So but as long as you point out that, hey, you're relying upon this provision and this provision was held to be ambiguous, you're just telling them what the law is, right? Aren't you allowed to tell them what the law is? What was it? Well, what did it say? What was the case law? Oh, it's Hicks and Whiteley. Yeah. So it held that the first so it basically held that the seepage provision is ambiguous, right? It said, it's constant repeated seepage or leakage within 14 days, right? It used the 14-day mark. You've always seen those, right? The court said basically that the first 13 days are covered. This exclusion did not unambiguously exclude the first 13 days that leak is occurring. Maybe 14 days afterwards it's excluded, the leak, but the first 13 days is covered, in essence. So the court basically held that this is ambiguous. It can be interpreted both ways, so there's coverage. The first 13 days, and then that was it. And so now that provision, anytime you see that provision now being used by the carrier, you need to say, hey, so the first 13 days are covered, right? So the first week is covered, right? Because it's up to 2 weeks, it's excluded. And they'll never say no. Get them to say no. And then show them this opinion. They won't. They won't because they would be lying. But doesn't it read for bad faith? Doesn't it read constant repeated seepage for longer than 14 days? For a period of 14 days or more, right? So for 13 days, it's covered. And if they say no, get them. Get them. The provision has been held to be ambiguous, but carriers still use it. They've amended it now to say for any period of time, constant repeated seepage or leakage for any period of time. That's like, then what's the hell of the point of having insurance? What's the point of having insurance? So the moment it goes off, the leak, it's not covered. Not covered. The actual physical damage is not covered then. What is constant and repeated seepage? Yeah. I mean, once it starts, if it's for 5 seconds or 5 days, it's still constant for 5 seconds. So to me, even that provision is vague, and they still rely upon that stuff. And I got one the other day. Dude, I love that stuff. I file suit over that all the time, and I make them, and they all settle. Like, they don't go nowhere. They all settle. All these cases settle. They're never gonna push you to trial. Well, that's some kind of, they know they all settle. They know they all settle. They know they all settle. They know they have to pay all of your fees, and that's why they got this freaking Senate Bill 76 going. They all settle at some point unless they're committing some kind of fraud or, there's overlapping damages with the prior claim. You see that a lot? Because that's what we were talking about last week was insurer fraud. I'll be honest with you, far and few. I mean, what kind of fraud are you going to have?
Right. So, for example,
there's damage or there isn't, right?
Yeah, but what about not misinterpreting, but literally changing engineering reports or sending out a completely biased engineer that's going to say whatever you want them to say? Like, for example, Hurricane Sally in New Jersey. Okay, they had these houses that were total losses because the tide, or what is it called? The tide, the rush of water. I forgot what the term is for that. It basically put these homes off of their foundation. And, a total loss needs to be completely rebuilt. They're sending out their engineers. The engineers are saying that this damage is as a result of this storm, and the insurance company's changing it to say that it was pre-existing. This crack or whatever is pre-existing. This thing that's moved like this home is pre-existing, was there before, or long-term wear and tear.
Yeah. That's horrible.
That's crazy. That was on 60 Minutes.
But that's the standard MO of the insurance companies. Then what you say?
That's what you didn't get into that. Yeah, everybody that they send, I tell in my course that we give to the PAs, I tell them, when you approach a loss, look to see what experts you can hire. And don't be discouraged, because I get a question all the time. Hey, is it okay for me to call a plumber? Hey, is it okay for me to call this? Do not be discouraged if you feel in any way that your expert is biased in any way. And I don't want to, but because the insurance company is sending an expert who is completely biased on their end.
Well, here's the thing. Our guys are not biased. And here's the difference, right? The difference is this, and understand this. The insurance company uses the same the same engineer for probably over years.
And the same plumbing company. I meet that freaking C&D Plumbing all the time.
Correct. So they have established business relations and financial relationships with these guys. The homeowner doesn't. The homeowner's met this engineer for the first time. Any engineer that a homeowner gets is usually the first time. Remember, it's the relationship between the parties, not me. Maybe I've used an engineer multiple times or recommended one. My relationship with the engineer has nothing to do with the homeowner's relationship. I'm not the one going to trial. It's the homeowner. But it's who for the insurance company. They're using the same. They are the ones making that same decision. And the reality is that my client has dealt with this engineer for the first time. The other way around, State Farm hasn't. And so, this evidence, when you go to trial, the jury hears that my guy's never had any prior relationship with this engineer, but State Farm has used his engineer for the past 10 years and has paid them, X amount of dollars, millions of dollars. So what does the jury think? This guy's a hired gun to do what State Farm wants.
That's what you always say, hired gun.
They are, man. They really are. And I think, a lot of our trials, I don't think I know whether, even if it's an injury case or a property damage case, whenever you sue an insurance company, literally on an insurance claim, all the people that they're using to adjust your insurance claim are people that they're hiring to minimize their losses.
Yeah.
So that's a higher.
Well, we started again to bring this full circle again. The water mitigation companies that are sent out by the insurance companies. Go ahead. You start talking.
No, but you're right. Full circle at them. They have these deals with these vendors, that guys that they hire, and they're going to give them. They're going to ignore looking at certain damage, not take photographs. How many times have you seen that where they don't get close-ups of the roof, or they don't actually get close-ups of the water damage? They don't use a moisture meter when they're supposed to.
Again, I'm getting messages from water mitigation companies that are sick and tired of what do they call it? The preferred vendor program, because they are getting, the thing is that they're so worried about going out on their own. People aren't natural entrepreneurs, and they're scared about, inconsistent income.
Yeah.
So they're just like, you know what? Let me get in with the insurance company. That's going to be consistent income, but it's peanuts. They're losing money on a lot of these things, and they're going in there. I go in there and I kick them out, Ali. I kick them out. If I go into a loss and I see the severity of the damage was 3 inches, 6 inches of water throughout this house, and all I see is a few machines set up, I'm like, you realize what you're doing? You've been in here for 2 or 3 days. You haven't done a single cutout? And all
no flood cuts, no flood cuts,
no anything. I said, you realize what you're doing? You're just creating a cesspool here.
And they're doing that intentionally. They're doing that intentionally. So
maybe not intentionally, but they have guidelines.
Yeah, their guidelines are to do as little work as possible, so the carrier pays out as little as possible, and they're not trying to help the insured out whatsoever. They're just trying to minimize losses, man.
Trying to save money any which way.
That's what keeps me and you going, bro.
I tell people all the time, if the insurance company actually paid what they were supposed to pay, I wouldn't have a job. So I shouldn't be even selling my services. I'm only here because of the fact that the insurance company will ultimately underpay you.
Same here. Or
deny, delay, defend. I like deny, delay, and underpay because it rhymes.
That's deny, delay, and you absolutely, man. I love it. Deny. That's how it is, man. And it keeps us going, but and it's never going to change, man. And we just got to accept that the industry is like that, and that's fine. And that's what makes us, in my opinion, good at what we do. Right? We know you've been doing this for what, 15 years now? 13,
14 years.
Oh my God! So I've been 15 years, right? So, I mean, people like us, we have the war scars, the stories, and everything to really put insurance companies to help our clients, man. So
I'd say still, even to this day, it's probably 3 times a year, and it's not as often as people think, but 3 times a year is a nasty encounter with an adjuster. It's like, it's not fun. And you know me now well enough to know that I'm actually not, thank God, because of my experience and I know the ropes, I know how this goes. I know how to play myself. I know how to sort of defend myself. But because when I was younger and I wasn't as experienced. I'm already somewhat of a passive guy to begin with. I just want to get along with everybody. Come on, man, let's just be friends. And when there's an adjuster that does not want that and he shows you, that shit gets your heart rate going, it gets your blood pressure up, and it's very uncomfortable. Not cool.
And the funny thing is, like, keep letting them do that though. Like, be the nice guy. Let them walk all over you, because in the end, that will create more money for us.
Absolutely.
Like, be assertive for your client. But if he's a jerk, like he's not going to record a statement with you, do your best and be like, okay, you're not gonna coordinate this recorded statement with you. Well, you give us one date and time. I'm telling you, my client's not available then. Well, you know what? Then you're forcing me to file suit, because you're not giving my client a chance to comply with their post-loss obligations. You go that route. We fight them, man. We beat them up.
Well, Ali, I appreciate you, man, because you are one of the, I mean, there's more and more. I'm meeting more and more really good attorneys, obviously, but I mean, thankfully I've had a mentor of mine, David Farber. I'm sure you've seen him he's been on the show and stuff like that. Great guy. He's helped me out tremendously in my career, but you're one of those guys. You're one of those guys that you're here to help. So anybody out there that really wants some help, I mean, Ali is the guy. He's going to give you his honest opinion. And if you have been listening throughout this entire episode, if you're watching, I think you should definitely watch this, because Ali has been getting in the face of the camera, and he swore in the beginning he would not curse because his kids might watch, and he broke that big time.
It's hard not to, man, when you get passionate. Thank you, Vince, man. It was awesome, man. Honestly, a pleasure. I would love to do this again with you anytime, man. You gave the passion that you give me when we talk on the phone. Yes. Hey, man, you brought it out, man. You brought it out. Like, you somehow are the interview sensation to bring this stuff out. And it's like your public speaking, man. You just got it, man.
But like you said, I was actually much more nervous than you. Ask Milan. Oh, yeah. He asked me, like, on the way, because remember, I had to drive from Tampa to Orlando, and he's like, how you doing? How's it going? I said, I'm a mess. I don't know what's going to happen. I said, I'm already running late. I didn't have the best day. Was yelled at by a client, which doesn't happen very often. Because I've got so much going on, I have to admit, I forgot to call the client to let them know about the inspection. So I showed up just like that. And they were older people. They were pissed. So I had to solve that. And I'm on my way. And he's like, I'm a mess. We'll see how it goes. But all I can do is I'm going to just try my best.
Yeah.
And when I got on there, dude, I was just like, bam, bam, bam. I couldn't believe it. I was like, everything went exactly how I wanted it to go. I was like, yes, but that's because I was speaking from the heart.
And that's the thing. Like, I knew when you started out, I was like, wow, he's giving a great introduction. The crowd is, listening. I was like, man, we just got to make sure this vibe and this passion stays. And as long as we don't, we keep them, motivated, give them ideas to talk about. And you were doing that. You were bringing them together, and it was just a wonderful experience, man. And I think in the end, when you passed the mic over to me, I just flowed with it.
Yeah.
And I don't like to write out stuff. I learned when I was a trial attorney, Never have a written script. You know, you can have some general idea what you want to talk about.
I usually have just like 2 or 3 bullet points, and that's pretty much it. That's what I had for Friday. Because
you look like if you're writing on, you know, you're reading off something, you look disingenuous. People don't listen to you. It's really when you speak from the heart, and sometimes impulsiveness helps. So calling Chris up there, really, I didn't think at first I was going to, but you know what?
That was awesome.
I was like in the middle of my conversation, he's like, you know what? What's the best thing to do is give these guys an example of what I'm talking about, and to show that I'm not joking around.
I gotta call Chris because I'm doing an appraisal for him.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's my case.
Yeah,
I recommended you for the appraisal, Vince.
Nice.
So,
all right.
So good luck with that one, right?
All right, Ali. Thanks for coming on, man. That was a blast.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
I'll see you later.
Take care.
Bye.